Powers 1. Virtue and Violence by Rob Harper. Chapter 1.
A young girl walks out of a club in the city and heads towards her mother's unused penthouse. Her name is Rachel Gudry. She is beautiful and yet walks with no fear down the dimly lit streets, because she knows one thing that any would-be attacker doesn't. She knows that she is blessed with a power inherited from her parents. This power allows Rachel to create a blast field around herself. It teleports anything intent on harming her to points unknown in the universe. This gift is what qualified the girl to attend the exclusive Wildebeest Foundation for Exceptional Youths. Her adeptness at fighting, and her wanting to make the world a better place is what qualified her to become one of the Beta, under the name Portal. Beta stands for Biological Enhanced Tier A, and it is Professor Wildebeest's best students formed together to be a force for good in the city. So as it stands, only a highly prepared strike force with energy weapons could threaten her, which brings us to the nondescript van tailing her. After a few blocks towards the relative safety of her mother's apartment, Rachel spots her tail.
I wonder who these guys are.
A few more blocks.
They're not making a move. What are they up to?
This is when another similar van turns the corner and heads her way. Rachel has been in combat with many other superpowered freaks, bent on world destruction, but has never been faced with a highly trained team who seem to be tracking her specifically. So she does the first thing that comes to her mind. She runs.
Damn it. I gotta contact Wildebeest for some backup.
Although, she also knows there's a good chance no one will be there to answer her call. The school is on spring break. Most students are home with their families. Others have been taken by Professor Wildebeest on a special field trip to the Welsh Research Facility. They went at the request of Scientist Squid, the current owner and son of its founder. Still, she has to at least try and leave a message, so the Beta know what's happening. She runs down a narrow alley knowing that the vans won't be able to follow. This is when she sees her stalkers for the first time. Abandoning their vans, a small, efficient group of Masters of Violence troops file down the alley brandishing their weapons needed to penetrate her blast field.
Okay, Masters of Violence. I thought we'd kick those bastards out of the U.S.
The general opinion was now that the Masters of Violence had efficiently taken over Ireland, they no longer were attempting any overt action in the States. By the look of the squad, overt action wasn't on their mind. More of a little covert kidnapping, it seemed. All this runs through Rachel's mind as she races down the alley with the heavily armored MOV goons not far behind. Suddenly she crashes into a person. The cloaked girl was carrying groceries, it seems, but half of those were teleported away as Rachel's blast field activated. The girl lay sprawled on one side of the alley, with Rachel on the other.
What the hell?
Sorry, no time.
Rachel gets up and starts to run.
What about my groceries, wench? The ones where you didn't disintegrate are everywhere. Don't you run away from me.
Rachel glances back long enough to see one of the guards leveling his rifle at the unsuspecting cloaked girl.
Look out!
The cloaked figure turns to see the MOV troops about to fire, and quickly drops her garments and flies straight up and out of the alley. Rachel sees the girl drop her cloak and reveal her leathery bat wings as she flies to safety. Rachel is thankful that the girl wasn't hurt at least. She continues to run from the MOV troops, but using their mechanically augmented speed, they are gaining on her. She rounds a corner in the long alley to be confronted with her worst fears, a dead end.
Damn, well let's hope the rest of the Beta missed me next week.
The MOV troops round the corner, and slow when they see they have their prey cornered. If their helmets allowed them to show emotion, then they probably all would be smiling like wolves right then. Come on, little girl. Let's not try and make this any harder than it has to be. The troops aim their rifles at Rachel, and she prepares for the worst. All of a sudden, she is swooped down upon by the formerly cloaked girl. The two jet out of the alley to the astonishment of the MOV squad.
Thank you!
I don't know why I do things like this. I know that you'll be nothing but trouble. Why do I do this?
Maybe you're more like your father than you'd like to admit, Virtue.
You know who I am?
My name's Portal. Well, it's really Rachel, and I'm a Beta. We tend to keep track of our own, even when they've strayed from the flock a little.
Rachel smiles, trying to reassure Virtue. She knows at one time Virtue was not so into saving, and more into causing general havoc for her father, Captain Courage.
Well, if you don't want me to drop you, I suggest you never compare me to my father again. The only thing I ever wanted from him wasn't his sense of heroism, but rather an expense count, so I could at least help feed my sewer urchins a little.
I'd forgotten. I read the report about you becoming leader of the sewer urchins somewhere along the way. How's that going for you?
The sewer urchins are a group of disfigured powers who went into hiding in the sewers to avoid persecution. Virtue just glares at the perky Rachel until her glaring is interrupted by a vertical takeoff and landing craft that buzzes them. More of MOV's high-tech toys.
Persistent, aren't they? Hold on.
Virtue doesn't give Rachel time to respond before they are twirling and darting at high speed to lose the VTOL craft on their tail. Eventually they lose the craft long enough to duck into one of the secret entrances into the sewer urchin tunnels. This is the realm where Virtue is queen, and no one dare oppose her.
You'll be safe in here until the heat dies down a little.
Thanks again, Virtue. I'd be captured or worse if it hadn't been for you.
Virtue just growls and motions for Rachel to follow her. As the two girls walk deeper into the sewer urchin tunnels, Virtue begins to notice that all is not as it should be. Since the time of the sewer urchin massacre, when so many sewer urchins were killed, they have increased their security in many ways. This included a permanent watch station near the entrance to detect any intrusions early. These guards are not to make their presence known to intruders, but if Virtue was around, they should have at least poked their heads out to greet their leader. But so far, nothing.
What's wrong?
Shush.
Virtue pulls her close to the tunnel walls, into the darkness. Just then 2 MOV troops march by on patrol. Virtue is shocked and angry to see her world violated like this, but contains her anger until she can figure out what is going on. She leads Rachel silently towards the heart of her operation. They meet up with more and more MOV patrols as they go, which really begins to worry Virtue. Another advancement, since the Urchin massacre, was a system for the sewer urchins to vacate the tunnels quickly and escape from the danger of an invading force. Virtue hoped that the lack of bodies or signs of blood meant that the system had worked, so that once these intruders leave, she could bring her people back to their homes safely.
They can't be here for me. There's no way they knew you'd save me and bring me here. They must be after something or someone else in the tunnels.
Virtue is silent. She knows they're after someone. They don't have anything worth stealing down here. But the question is, who are they after? Virtue and Rachel reach the main hall of the sewer urchin kingdom, and Virtue's worst fears are realized. She peeks into the hall and sees a single cage. In the cage is the one person she hoped wouldn't be. Suck, her right-hand man. Suck is tall and quite ugly to the casual onlooker, but Virtue sees him differently. So it was Suck they're after. He's unconscious in the cage. This is much worse than she had suspected. Virtue moves back into the darkness down the small side tunnel next to Rachel.
They have Suck.
Suck. As in was once Ward of the Regulators Suck? So this is where he's been hiding since the Alien Ward debacle.
Rachel remembers some of her history classes from Wildebeests.
Yeah, that means we're really, really screwed.
No, we'll be fine. I saw the weapons that the guards have all been using. They're just regular slug throwers, nothing my blast field can't handle.
Virtue just shakes her head and picks up a rock. Rachel looks at her quizzingly. Virtue winds up and whips the rock at Rachel's shin. Rachel's been nigh on invincible for at least 10 years, and she doesn't even flinch at the rock, until it hits her leg, that is. The rock thunks soundly into Rachel's leg, and Virtue jumps on her to suppress the girl's scream of pain and shock. Once Rachel stops screaming, Virtue lets her go.
Oh, what was that about? And why did it hit me?
When Suck is awake, he can keep his power nullifying the field that he emits to mere inches from his skin. Unfortunately, when he's unconscious or not concentrating, his field goes into its extreme limit, which I think we last calculated to be about 200 yards radius. Which in the end means that you go out there, they shoot you, you die.
I think we're going to need some help.
Follow me. I think there might be an old service phone not far from here, and we can contact someone.
Virtue leads the way away from the occupied tunnels into some more remote areas of the sewer urchin spiderweb of passages. The girls come to an abandoned storage room that one time was probably used by servicemen who had to come down into the tunnels to repair various things. Inside there is indeed an ancient phone. It still works much to Rachel and Virtue's amazement and relief.
Let's hope someone's home at the Foundation or else we're screwed.
The phone rings once, twice, and a third time before it's picked up.
They got it!
We're sorry. Wildebeest Foundation is closed for spring break. Please leave us a message with your comments or questions and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Any anti-powers rhetoric will be traced astrally or telepathically and you will be charged under the Anti-Defamation Act. Thank you.
Anyone, this is Rachel. Please, we need your help. The Masters of Violence are after me, and it seems they have invaded the sewer urchin tunnels to capture Suck, too. We need assistance immediately. Hurry, please.
Now what? Your friends are off on spring break, partying it up, and here we are screwed.
I guess we could call Doc Rock and his Rockers team. Although not many people at Wildebeests exactly trust them. Especially his half-brother Dr. Doctor and the Claw, who both think that Doc Rock is the next warp for some reason.
Yeah, I don't trust those goons either. Although I don't trust your goons much neither. Actually, I don't exactly trust anyone. What about the Joes? These MOVs are right up there. International Freedom Force Alley, wouldn't you think?
Do you know the number?
No, not off the top of my head.
To be continued.
So, Kid Calamari. That's quite right, yes. I was just wondering, if I was a fan of Vinland Old Time Radio, where could I buy some swag? CafePress.com/Vinland Old Time Radio, you're telling me. And does it have t-shirts there? And mugs? No, I don't think they have those there. Oh, okay. Anyways, so it's CafePress.com/Vinland Old Time Radio, you're telling me. Wow. That's pretty awesome.